I've been working on this. It's been turning in my brain since 1993. Lower back pain will allow you to move well, first of all. And then if you're moving well, you're going to move more because it goes in the opposite direction. And moving more will perpetuate more movement. And then constant quality movement will allow you to perform your mountain sports better and do them for a very long time because you'll have less joint pain. And then all this moving burns tons of calories. So in the end, you, without even knowing how you got there, you'll wake up and you'll look amazing, and you'll keep it off for a very long time because of all the quality movement. You probably already know this, but lower back pain is one of the leading causes of joint pain in North America. And did you know that the weakest muscles are the muscles that surround the lower back? So if you put 2 and 2 together, it's kind of easy to figure out. Also, if it took you a lifetime to get to where you were, like if it took you 2 to 4 decades to get some good lower back pain, it took you a long time to get. It usually means that your lower back isn't weak. It's just been overworked, and it's overstrong, and it needs a vacation, basically. So when you're going to the gym, it's not better to start coming in and strengthening your lower back. It does need a vacation. I have a lot of people coming into the gym and their lower backs are sore and they go, oh, my lower back's weak. I got to train my lower back. And then I have to, sit them down, have a conversation and try to make them understand where I'm coming from and go, actually, give it a break and strengthen around it. So I see that quite a bit. I have this machine in the gym, but I don't use it for that movement pattern. I use it for the bum. Now, so what big three should we condition to rid your lower back? And it's BAM. So BAM is bum, abs, and mid back. So why BAM? BAM is the center of your body. So BAM can be defined as your core. And if you think about it, your lower back is smack dab in the middle of your body. And so it's a pivot point. And if you think of your lower back as, or your spinal cord as a wire, and if you're constantly picking things up off the floor throughout your entire life, using your lower back instead of your hips, it's going to start to bend like a wire. And everyone's got their own predisposed number of bends in their wire. Some people's wires can last longer before the wire breaks, and some people's wires last shorter. There's some genetics to that. So your BAM, your bum, your abs, and your mid back, they create a triangle around your lower back. So they like covet your lower back. They surround and protect your lower back. And so if they're not doing their job, then the lower back is left out in the cold by itself, doing the responsibility of the bum, doing the responsibility of the abs and the mid back. And then also good to know is BAM fires stronger when all three parts of your BAM fire together. I mean, you can squeeze your glutes, but if you get your mid back and abs involved at the same time you're squeezing your glutes, the potentiation of those muscles are higher. And if your lower back hurts during exercise, really works when I'm training one-on-one, and it does work in a class situation, but if I get them to cue at least a third or 2/3 of their BAM, or if I can get them to cue all three parts of their BAM, the joint pain goes away. Mostly every single time. Or if it's not 100% goes away, it will go away partially as well. All your appendages, your arms and your legs attach to the center of your body. So the stronger your center is, the stronger your arms are. Your arms and legs are only as strong as your core. You can't shoot a cannon from a canoe. It's from Peter Twist. And then what I've found over the 20 years of assessing people and in CAMMOR is that BAM is weak in every single person. Even if you're an Olympic athlete or just a weekend warrior, everyone's BAM, or maybe it's just a part of the BAM or all the BAM, but I always find one really weak link. And if they have joint pain, it's usually one of those areas or all those areas need to be shored up. And then BAM is integral to our LifeWorks vision. So our LifeWorks vision is to integrate BAM into every session to spare your joints, to constantly change the way we move to maximize exercise potential. But I'm saying change the way we move, but it's not changing for change's sake. It's always changing with the goal of doing it properly, of sparing the joints and going towards living long as we possibly can. I'm always implementing research-based exercise protocols. And I'm constantly innovating to stay on top of the pile, to make sure that we're doing stuff research-based, but we're also doing it creatively to make training fun. Because what I want for myself and what I want for my clients is to live as long as they can doing your trails or hiking your trails or doing whatever sport you want to do. I don't want people to live as long as they can on life support. Everyone's got to be bipedal to have that quality of life. So, how can BAM get stronger? Well, first of all, before we attack and strengthen your BAM, we got to think of the three things I talk about quite a bit is stabilizing your joints, mobilizing your soft tissue, and then you can start to strengthen. So the last presentation I did, if you have a chance, go see it, because I talk about loose spokes and tight spokes. So if you have loose spokes in your hips, and I give you some solutions how to figure that out on your own, but if you can't figure it out, you can come see me, is if you have loose spokes in your hips, for example, you got to stabilize those spokes, get them tighter, and don't stretch them. If you're really tight in your hips, for example, you got to mobilize them. But when you're mobilizing your hips and you're creating some mobility, you're getting deeper in your squat, you're taking some of your parking brake off, because everyone seems to be living life with a parking brake on. And so if you're tight in your hips and you can get more mobility in your hips over a course of 6 months or a year, you're releasing some strength. And then when you do some strength exercises, that's adding to the strength component of your hips. But if you're really loose in the hips and you tighten up those hips instead of mobilizing them, because if you mobilize loose hips, you're making it weaker. And you're going in the opposite direction of life quality. And then to get stronger in your BAM, include it in every single workout. I mean, even if you're including 1/3 of your BAM in the workout, or you're including all three parts, I include all three parts in every single workout. And then every single movement pattern that you do, I believe you should have at least 1/3 of the BAM included. Even if it's a bicep curl, I mean, your mid-back is the anchor and you're doing your bicep curl. You're not doing the bicep curl with the slouch spinal cord and doing it. So even if it's holding posture, that's BAM integration, and then doing the movement pattern. So you're never not doing any BAM any of the time. And every single warm up and every single cool down, it's BAM. You got to turn on your BAM at the most appropriate times, and you turn it off at the most appropriate times, because if you think about it, when you're walking, a basic movement pattern, when your legs swinging forward, your core is turned off, and it should be turned off. And then once your heel hits the ground, it's a ground reaction force, and then your core turns on at the most appropriate time to counter that ground force. And then when the other leg swings forward again, it turns off. So your core in your BAM is constantly turning on and off, and it should do that. And then when you get injured, like a knee injury or a low back injury, you'll move less because it hurts. If you open up your gait or your stride, it's going to hurt your lower back. So you tend to walk shorter. And then what you'll find is you get a little more robotic. And then there's it takes away from the phase of the turn off phase. So you're always turned on. And then that gets acidic, and then your muscles get tighter and more guarded, and then you move a little shorter. So it becomes like a downward spiral in that case. So when I start training people, I try to get them to a point where they can start to open up their gait or start turning on and off at the most appropriate time. So when I say, pulling exercises, draw down, tighten up your abs, and then when your arms are straight again, relax your abs. So your brain and your muscles and all your fascial tissue are integrating on the on and off switch. I never want you to be on the whole time. Imagine for a 60-second exercise that your core is on the whole time. It doesn't work that way, and it gets super tired. Your posture will just get so tired, and you'll start to use the wrong muscles. And number 9 is deplete the muscles. So you get to a point for, if we use the mid back as an example, we want to get to a point where we get that mid back really tired, so you can't do any more properly, so that it gets stronger. That's important. All right. So just a good basic example of a B exercise. We do this in Code Red Strength, just to strengthen the glutes. There's hundreds of ways to strengthen the glutes. And there's some bad ways to do it too. And we'll get into that in the future. A good basic example of an A exercise. The basic plank. And a good example of an M exercise is like a pull-up row or pull down, or using the dumbbells to do your mid-back exercises, or even your arms going past your ears with your thumbs pointing backwards. That's a mid-back exercise as well. So now you understand why I do a lot of things in class. Another good example of a full BAM exercise where I integrate the bum and the abs and the mid-back in one movement pattern. And that's why I'll do a row with a squat, or a row with a lunge, for example, high max. It's not very professional. Okay. So that's my little presentation. Now, what I'm going to do in the next presentation is going to be more details on the B word specifically. How to stabilize your B, how to mobilize your B if it needs to be mobilized, some B strengthening exercises more than just the bridge, and B exercises I used to do, but I don't do them anymore because I've discovered that they were degenerative, which means doing an exercise that would hurt would grind away at a shoulder joint at the same time, like doing a high row like that. I've seen people still do, which is bad for the wrist and the shoulder joint, but they're trying to get the mid back strong at the same time. It's not, don't steal from Peter to pay Paul. Thank you very much, team. And if you have any questions, if you don't, that's okay. Let me know now. But Danvers, you don't have lower back pain, so you're just learning.
Yeah. I think there's those times though where it's kind of like, I don't know if I'm just like tired or needing to check my posture, but when you're working and it's like, I can't tell if it's like my abs or my lower back that you're just like feeling worked.
Right. You feel like your whole body's tired?
Yeah, maybe that's just it.
Yeah, usually in my style of workouts, you'll feel more of a full body fatigue, more than just like at one particular piece of meat, but you never want, the definition of lower back is the lowest rib and below, mm-hmm. and your sacrum, your hip and up. So right in there.
Yeah. Okay.
And I never want you to feel any joint pain there. I mean, if you feel fatigue along the muscles beside the spinal cord, I don't want you to feel that either, but it's better than a sharp pain, which I have never had anyone feel. But people come in initially with that. But fatigue in the mid-back, where the lowest rib and the top rib reside, and where the shoulder blades are, I want you to feel super tired there. And I've had lots of clients that I started training at the first time. They go, oh, my back is sore. I don't think this is right. And I try to point with my finger on their back. Is it here or is it here? They go, here. Okay, that's your mid-back. And that's awesome. I'll find that most people's I'll find almost 99.9% of humans have a really, really weak mid-back. And I find that when people work out, or like for people squat, for example, they will never really engage the mid-back. They'll think about it. They'll just kind of hang their spinal cord. It's not their fault. It's just, why would you think about it? They think about what the hips are doing instead, and the spinal cord will hang off of their joints, and they'll do the squat up and down instead of being active in that mid back and then going up and down. It's a lot to think about too. And so I'll find out that people's density of the muscles in the mid back, there's not much going on there either. And so above the lower back is the mid back. And if it can't do its job, then the lower back's got to do the job of the mid back. And if the mid back, I find that a lot of people's mid backs are super tight as well because, decades of desk work and driving. So Danvers, be careful. I know you're a student. And decades of that stuff, and maybe even road biking posture, and then, socializing, the mid back is just hangs off of the joints. And the fascial tissue gets thicker and thicker and thicker, and the shoulder blades can't move around anymore. They're supposed to move around when your arms go up. And then you go to shovel your sidewalk, you can't move through the mid back. The lower back's got to do the bending, the lower back's got to do the rotation as well, and the load at the same time. And then you couple that up with mobility in the hips, and they're not doing their job right below the lower back, then it's catastrophic. Yeah. It's a great question.